Once upon a time, there was a film projectionist named Joel Flickstein who worked for a movie theater called the Four-Star Theater, who crossed paths with an estranged orphaned Israelite 7-year-old boy who inherited the supernatural gifts of empathy, telepathy, precognition, and automatic writing, who was separated from his parents during a time of war and famine in Israel, when his parents felt the only way to spare their son's life was to sneak him on a boat that would sail him to America, where he would be free. So they did that for the boy. Every day the boy would purposely wander into the Four-Star movie theater, where he would see a particular movie and even sleep in it, to find food from the leftovers that the moviegoers have left or dumpster diving. One day, while Joel was in one of the theaters, setting up and inspecting the curtain and screen controls, as he finished he crossed one row, and stumbled over the boy who was sleeping curled up under a seat. Because of that, it opened up a chance for Joel to bring the boy up to his projectionist booth to tour and hear his story. Because of that, Joel took the boy in as one of his own, and converted a broom closet with a cot into the bedroom, as he snuck food up to the boy from the concessions. During Joel's downtime, they searched for the boy's parents through research and saw films together. Joel even taught the boy how to flex jump. Until finally, after one movie jump happened during Joel's prayers of intercession, the boy received a promptly prophetic vision that unlocked a whole new mystery. He found out that his parents were not only alive but saw a happening of a doomsday event before its time that involved the Antichrist rising low, an app that will take the lives of many. Nevertheless, the boy also discovered how to treat and subdue his trigger and subliminal responses that self-activates fears to come upon his atmosphere through writing. Therefore, developing the character strengths of temperance, he harnesses his triggers and learns to use his gifts that he has been given to turn a traumatic evil into good, by becoming a foresighting crime writer who fights crime through predestinarian journaling. Thus, so the boy wouldn't feel so alone in his diversities, Joel told him his secret of finding the phenomenal power in the world, being the power of prayer, and through it he becomes an impossibility in an impossible world. This gave the boy the confidence to finally tell Joel his name, as the boy said that his name was Eytan Sigal. Thereafter, Joel mentored Eytan in his craft through movies and prayer. In the course of time, while Eytan was helping Joel insert film into the top magazine reel, or thread film through a series of sprockets and guide rollers, attaching the end to a tick-up reel, Eytan cracked a joke about celluloid, and Joel thought he was calling him that, thereby causing him to embark upon an idea to call himself celluloid as an alter ego who makes divine intervention for people through prayers of intercession who suffer suicide ideation to turn what was meant to harm them into something good. Following this, Joel looked through a film strip at Eytan and called him REELZ as a way of deeming him his sidekick. They chuckled while continuing to insert the film in the reel. Thereafter, Joel and Eytan worked together to design a suit for the boy who was now seen as an unseen superhero through his gifts, as it was a suit that looked like a futuristic cross between a steampunk and swashbuckler superhero outfit designed in yellow, grey, light turquoise, and brown with a tad of black. His emblem is displayed on his belt buckle and shoulder. It also includes a hood and a pair of goggles. It can camouflage itself. It stretches to accommodate anyone who wears it, so he can grow into it. And it is a global positioning device as a lightning bolt sword. Now Joel's costume looked futuristic, designed in transparent yellow that shows through a visual appearance of white noise on the back, biceps, and thighs that's also designed with neon blue and orange. His emblem of a handicap symbol is displayed on his super prosthetic legs and arms armory. It also includes a tiny film projector that appears through a slit in the mohawk on his helmet, and an attached anti-splash eye protection multi-purpose Cyberone two-way mirror-style polycarbonate face shield on his headgear. Eventually, Celluloid and REELZ went on to work with the law enforcement to assist them on arduous unsolved cases together, as they fought crime thereafter. And so, the flick texting stories of two movie journeys begins. The following morning, as Joel was opening the movie theater, then starts projectors and opens shutters to project images onto screens, he received this intuition to throw up an orison for the one person who attempts suicide every 38 seconds to be saved and canged into celluloid to make intervention for them. All the while, Eytan had become REELZ and jumped into what you would call cinematic as part of his situation for an alternative schooling. When Joel returned, he starts inspecting movie films to ensure that they are complete and in good condition, until he gets an intuition to save suicidal and springs up into celluloid. While at the same moment in the cinematic school, REELZ movie class has changed and he has jumped into the Boy Who Harnessed the Wind movie. Moving on to fulfill his next duty after being back, Joel inspects projection equipment prior to operation in order to ensure proper working order, until an intuition interrupts and he springs up into celluloid to save another from suicide subsequent to REELZ jumping into the Storm Boy movie for a class. When celluloid flicks back into the TH4-star theater is Joel his next duty of operating equipment in order to show films in a number of theaters simultaneously, until an intuition interrupts for him to spring up into celluloid and save another person from suicide. Whereas, REELZ is jumping into the Kid Who Would Be King movie. When done with his last task, after jumping out of celluloid skin and into Joel Flickstein, he splices separate film reels, advertisements, and movie trailers together to form a feature-length presentation on one continuous reel. Until another intuition calls and he springs up into celluloid again to save a suicidal subsequent to REELZ jumping into the Spies in Disguise movie for another class. Joel arranges schedules for theater facilities upon return as at the same time movie quotes are flooding the thoughts reels his movie class jumps in cinematic school, and just when Joel thinks he can rest from the intuitions and saving suicidals, he gets another one in a flash that causes him to spring up into celluloid to make intervention. When he returns, Joel hangs up his celluloid suit and fulfills the task of keeping up with the regular movie reports and records for the theater. After that, Joel clocks out to take a lunch as REELZ flicks back into reality to join him, where they make small talk over a lunchbox and juice box. They return to work in cinematic school shortly afterward. On the clock again, Joel utilizes the equipment required to rewind films and operates special effects equipment thereafter. He proceeds to close the facilities according to rules and schedules. When Joel closes the theater, REELZ flicks back to reality as Eytan just in time for them to say goodnight to each other while Eytan goes off to his bedroom closet and Joel wheels himself home. While wheeling himself home in his wheelchair, Joel has a run-in with an FBI most wanted fugitive, Rafael Caro Quintero. That's when Joel pulls out his cell phone and jumps Rafael and himself into a Saw movie to rewrite this perp's story with a puzzling game. But will it cause a heart change that'll lead to a surrender? The next day, while Joel opens the movie theater, he starts everything up, when suddenly Eytan runs up to him with an Entertainment Weekly magazine opened up to a featured page, shouting, "Jojo, look what I did. I know a student isn't above their teacher, but I beat you at your own game with what I've learned at cinematic school." Joel takes the magazine from Eytan's hands to find that a character in the Saw movie has made the FBI's most wanted fugitive, Rafael Caro Quintero, surrender. Joel sat pondering over the perplexity, saying, "If I wasn't Jigsaw, then were you?" Eytan eavesdrops in on his thoughts, rolls his eyes and says to himself, "Sometimes you have to pretend to be the bad guy to get the bad guy. Who says kids don't learn nothing from movies?" Eytan then prances away, whistling as Joel returns to work.